07 Citizens Black here from CasaBLACK Gaming, and today I wanted to do a quick loadout for the Hercules Starlifter C2. The review for this ship has been out on my channel for a few weeks now, and I've had a few people ask for the loadout, so this is as good a time as any to do that as well. Now if there's interest, I will also do the loadouts for the A2 and M2, but I didn't want to do them all in the same video because that might confuse people because the amount of weapons really scales up from the C2, so those are going to get their own. Now as usual, if you find this loadout helpful, then please check out my channel for more videos, and it's always appreciated when you like, subscribe, and comment, which is how I am able to be found through the muck that is the YouTube algorithm. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into this quick loadout. Now, of course, I like to start off these loadouts with the ship components first, as they are usually the starting point for anyone who might have just recently picked this ship up, and you need to know how to get the ship going with the best components for getting around the verse and staying safe. So for the first component, let's talk the power plant, which I honestly do not change and have had no issue, but if you insist on changing it, or you've ever found your ship becoming unresponsive, you are welcome to use the size 3 JS500, which can only be picked up currently at Cousin Crow's on Orison for a hefty sum of 139,750 credits. It's kind of expensive for a component that, until we get master modes in, is not doing a whole lot. Now for the coolers, you can skip this as well for now, as far as we know, because they are almost useless for most ships until we get the ship components revamp in, possibly later this year. However, I'm going to go ahead and suggest 2 of the size 3 blizzards, which are also found at Cousin Crow's on Orison, and also Crusader 1 if you absolutely feel the need to upgrade your coolers for whatever reason. Now 2 of these are going to set you back almost 300,000 credits, so keep that price versus function in mind, and I'd only replace 1 to begin with, and only if you're seeing your weapons or engine overheating and they stop functioning, which for me this has never been an issue, so you should be fine. Alright, so moving on, let's go to the shields next. Now there are 3 grade A's that you could possibly go with, but the shields I recommend are 2 of the FR86s. Now the FR86s offer up the most distortion shutdown damage than the other 2, but the other 2 max's reboot time, if they do get shut down, is also 2 to 3 times shorter in duration. Now they all have the same health HP, but the other 2 shields distortion shutdown damage is half or more, so they're going to go out on you faster, and with there being some updates coming to distortion damage later in this year, which we might actually see from NPCs in combat as well as players, distortion shutdown damage is going to be more important than ever. Now the FR86 can be found at Cousin Crow's and Dumpers Depot on Area 18, and the price for both will set you back around 272,000 credits, so it's pricey but a worthwhile upgrade and should be done second to the Quantum Drive. Alright, last but not least for the ship components is the Quantum Drive, and right now the drive I recommend is the TS2, which can be found at Cousin Crow's and Crew L5 for about 93,000 credits, making it the cheapest of the ship components and the very first one you should be going for, as the time it saves from the stock engine is worthwhile, as you can see here on the screen now. The times are way more than half and make the C2 zoom through space to get your cargo where it needs to go in a flash. Alright, now let's move on to the weapons, and honestly most people just keep the weapons that come stock with the Hercules, which are 2 pilot controlled size 5 gimbals that each have a single size 4 laser cannon, in this case 2 of the M6As. Now being on gimbals works well for this ship since it's not the most agile at following targets, and if you have a crew member aboard, they can jump in either the remote main or remote rear turret to help out. Those turrets are lock size 5s with 2 size 4 M6A laser cannons on each. Now keep in mind that even if you had a third person on the ship, only that co-pilot seat has access to those 2 remote turrets, and so that person has to decide which turret to go with, and that third person cannot help out by joining on that second turret. Now you could always swap out the turret laser cannons for 4 of the CF447 Rhino laser repeaters, which can be found at Center Mass on New Babbage, L2, Mick L3, and Arc L2, just to name a few places. And honestly, the only guns I would do this on are the remote turrets, because having laser repeaters on those could be of use against smaller fighters that are too fast for the laser cannons. Now, as an alternative, you could just have 1 turret set up for laser repeaters and leave the other for laser cannons, so you have that option depending on what you're encountering. Now, one other weapons note here I will add is that you might be tempted to swap out the two pilot control size 4 guns for the size 5s by removing the gimbals, and even though the C2 is more agile than many ships of its size, that decision is really going to depend on your own flight skills, because removing those gimbals means you will need to fire straight ahead only, and even with that extra size 5 firepower, it might not be as easy to hit your targets. If you do decide to go this route, I recommend two of the size 5 M7As that you can pick up at numerous locations listed on the screen now, including both center mass locations at Area 18 and New Babbage, or Arc L2, Arc L3, Her L2, or Mick L3. Now, as for missiles, there are no missiles on the C2, so this is not a concern. Alright, and that's going to do it for this loadout of the Hercules Starlifter C2. I hope you found this useful, and I'm curious about any combat entanglements you might have had while out in the verse carrying cargo, and what exactly attacked you. Was it mostly smaller ships or medium to large ships? Were you able to fend the invaders off, or did you lose your cargo? I think as more cargo and trade options are implemented, and as the server player size gets bigger, and also as pirating becomes more of a go-to profession for players, that communication and helping one another out, whether that be through good advice for loadouts or just lending each other a helping hand when things go sideways, is going to be the best defense. Anyway, I thank you for watching and look forward to hearing from you all. Now remember to be kind to your fellow gamer, don't get complacent with your trade routes, that's when things are going to go crazy on you, and stay positive citizens.